Hey lovely sexy hobby people, welcome to today's video, which is going to be a unboxing for the Airfix 172 scale Royal National Lifeboat Institution RNLI Shannon class lifeboat. So I purchased this from the Airfix website. I got it at 20% off because I had my 10% discount with the Airfix Club. And I had an additional code which gave me another 10% when I entered it into the voucher box. 90% of the sale of, 90 pence I should say, of the sale from this product goes to the Royal National Lifeboat Institution, or Institute, which is fantastic. Always happy to give money to them. They will rescue any and all people in distress, as it should be. So looking at the box, this is a starter set. We get 2 brushes, glue, the 6 paints and the model itself with the instructions and the decals. Looking at the front of the box, we get some nice artwork here, and then I don't know if this is actually a picture or a CAD, a coloured CAD of the finished product. You have some information about the Shannon class lifeboat there, and then some other information, just multilingual callouts on the bottom, and then on the back some more multilingual callouts and the colour plate, and the ends just look like that. So let's get into it. So we have 2 brushes here, which are a 0 and a 4. So that's nice. Let's have a quick look at the paint, shall we? We then have 4 paints. We have a white, we have a silver, we have a slate grey, we have the blue for the hull, the orange for the cabin, white and black, and then we have the paint, which to be honest is just going to go straight in the bin. Not the paint, the glue, which is going to go straight in the bin. So those are the paints. We'll have a look at the plastic in a mo. Let's get into the instructions, shall we? So we have our decals. Looks like we've only got 1 lifeboat registration on this. I do believe Airfix does a second set of decals which has RNLI numbers on it. So if you wanted to make a different lifeboat, you could do. This one is for, doesn't say. I would have thought the corresponding number would denote where it was located. So 1301 I would have thought would be, you know, mentioned where it is stationed. We then get this little A4 sheet of before you start. So obviously this is a starter set, which is giving you some tips and handy instructions for as you build your mini. And then the instructions proper. So what have we got? Shannon class lifeboat, designed as an all-weather lifeboat capable of operating in some of the most challenging conditions day and night. Rather than utilising traditional propellers, the Shannon class uses water jets instead, making it one of the most agile lifeboats in the fleet. I understand that because it uses water jets, it's able to beach in a safer way. Now, here we have the instructions. Now, we have a sprue map here, just a brief sprue map. We seem to have the hull parts and the upper deck, along with the cabin frame, the glass, and then the railings, and then that looks like the cradle, the display cradle. So looking at the instructions, we're building our display cradle first, and then the hull. The hull is predominantly 3 parts with an additional 2 braces across the middle to give it some rigidity. Then we're throwing the deck on, and do you know what? I'm looking at this and I'm looking at the colour callouts, and these are, as they do the colour callouts, they are printing the parts in that colour. So it's showing you the colour callouts for the hull and the top here, and we've got a blue band and obviously black, and then the grey and everything on the hull, and then the cabin roof is in orange, and so on. Obviously this is quite a basic build, so they haven't included the compartments for like where the rescued passengers would go. So we have like the crew compartment here for the boat, and the seats, but you would go down and there would be I think a forward compartment would be used to house the rescued passengers, and so on and so forth. So that's not included, I think, if I remember rightly, because I have done a part build on a 7 class lifeboat. I think that those are actually modelled. The passenger compartment is actually modelled. Then we're on to the cabin with the cabin sides. Now I'm looking at this and they're painting the inside orange, whereas I believe that in real life the inside is painted black, so that when they're doing night operations there's less reflective surfaces in the windows, and it gives them better visibility. So I will spray the inside black and the outside orange before adding in the glass. I'm looking at these parts here, and it looks like I should be able to install these prior to putting the glass in. I will obviously do a dry fit to double check, because what I don't want to do is install these and then I can't install the glass. But because I want to paint the inside of the cabin as well, and this glass looks slightly tinted. We'll have a look. Don't know whether that's just because they're painting it blue to represent glass, or whether it is slightly tinted. But hopefully these interior pieces on the sides of the inside of the cabin will not hinder the installation of the clear parts afterwards. So then the cabin is going to go onto the boat. Now I may not put the cabin onto the boat until after I've painted it, and let's have a look. I think all the bits and pieces that need to be grey could probably be painted on the sprue and then glued to the cabin. And what I might do is glue the railings on. So we're putting in some ribs along the bottom of the hull, and then we're coming into some of the ancillary bits like the capstans, etc., onto the boat. And I'm looking at these, and I think a lot of these might be paintable on the sprue and then glued to the boat. But what I'm probably going to do is I will probably, when it comes to the railings around the edge of the boat, I will probably glue those into place. So these railings are going on. They are painted the slate grey, number 27. So I think I will add these onto the boat and obviously paint them the respective colour, and then once I've done the cabin, add that into position, and then we have the mast assembly going on, and then some high gain antennas going on as well. There is a really good video on YouTube. If I remember, I'm not going to promise, but if I remember, I will try and put a link in the description below. There's a really good video on YouTube where they visit the pool factory and just go through the main processes of building a Shannon. So as I say, if I remember, I will add it to the description below. Right, let's have a look at the descriptions. Not the descriptions, the parts. So there's our clear parts. There's our cabin roof. And I do have something that's come away from the sprue. But that's not a major issue. So that that might be one of the ribs that goes along the hull. Right, so here we have the main deck with the crew seating, and you can probably see that the deck is kind of angled. The hull sides, and yeah, I'm not going to be able to put that onto that easily, but that looks like it's going to go into position quite nicely. So the hull sides, they look really nice. I'm just trying to see if I can see any ejector pin marks from the outside, and the answer to that is no. There are some ejector pin marks obviously on the inside, but they don't appear to have translated through to the outside, so that's nice. So there's that. Then there's obviously the top deck, or the crew deck, I don't know what you would call it, the main deck. And the cabin will slot into position on that, so that's going to give us the main superstructure on the deck. So that looks pretty cool. I do like that. That is really nice. Right, then we have, let's have, so this is, right, so I've got a breakage here on one of the, well, it's not a breakage, but it's bent, and it's, because it's bent, it's going to be fragile. So I've got a bend on one of these. I can see it's a bend because of the white stress marks on it. But this is part of the railings here, and this is part of our mast assembly, main mast assembly, the radar, and this is the cradle here and here for displaying your ship, your boat, once it's done. We then have the railings, and the railings look really crisp. I can't see any flash on these whatsoever. They look really good. So we got obviously the main railings around the edge of the boat, and then we got grab handles for moving around the boat in rough weather. Yeah, that's really nicely moulded. I may have to just do a tiny little bit of scraping on top for a mould line, but I don't think we're going to need to do much. And then finally we have the ribs here which go into the hull, so they will locate into the hull to strengthen the hull in the build. Okay, so you get 2 of those, and then here's the back with the water jet assemblies. I believe there's a couple of parts that will go over that, and then parts here for the back of the crew cabin. So this bit, this bit, this bit and this bit are all part of the back of the crew cabin, and then these are the interior parts. Now these interior parts look like they've got some really big deep ejector pin marks, which I can see an imprint of on this one, not so much on that one. I can't see any ejector pin marks on this. On the outward facing detail I can see something there, hopefully paint will cover it. But yeah, other than that it looks good. Let's have a look at the glass. So try not to get my sticky paw prints all over it. And that glass looks really clear. So I don't know if you can see down through the canopy front there, the front windows, but that looks really clear. They really have done a good job in moulding that glass. Yeah, fantastic. So if you paint your interior, it should look good. Now, let's get this back in here without damaging it. Easier said than done. Let's do it this way. Right, there we go. Right, so anyhow, that was the look at the Shannon class lifeboat. I'm probably going to build this fairly soon because it's one of these projects that I have been looking forward to, and all being well we will get this started. Probably do it in a couple of parts, build video and painting in a 2-parter. I do apologise for the motorcycle, but yeah, come back at some point and we will get this built and painted. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.